Okay, so today we have someone I'm excited to have on, my brother-in-law, Allan Johnston. He is a kindergarten through eighth grade teacher at New Foundations Charter School. And in my mind, you have a very, very cool career journey. And I was excited to have you on and to have you share a different perspective than some of the folks that are normally on here. So I'm excited to have you on. Thank you for doing this. And I'll stop there. And if it's okay with you, we'll just start with the basics. Can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do today.
Sure, yeah. So I teach at a New Foundations Charter School. It's a Title I school in Northeast Philadelphia. Title I meaning that 70% or more of our students are of low-income families. So we provide breakfast and lunch to those students. I teach a class called Service Learning. It is new to this year. For the last 9 years, I've been in this school since I left college. Actually, I was
Okay.
at the school during college.
Okay.
And I student taught here, and I've just been here for about 13 years now. But I taught third grade for the last 9 years, and then this is the first year we have service learning. While teaching third grade, I was running the school garden after school. I hosted a couple of clubs. It was gardening and cooking with the younger students, third and fourth graders, and also with high school students. And after a couple of years of that, I had a conversation with the principal and the CEO, and I got them to agree to allowing me to turn this into a specialty course. Similar to how students would go to art or music or gym, they now visit me and we do gardening and cooking. Now it's service learning, which is learning applied through action. And to be serviceable to our community, what we end up doing is we work in the garden, we harvest our ingredients, we'll cook with those ingredients, and a lot of the times the students will be trying food for the first time, but we'll also receive large quantities of seasonal ingredients from local produce vendors. Riverwards Produce is an incredible donor of ours. And we take all those things that we cook, we make frozen dinners, and we donate those to food banks right up the street. So they support our families as well and just the people within our community.
That's really cool. And so, but I don't want to get this wrong, but the way you talked about that was you said that you took over taking care of the garden a couple of years ago. But wasn't that was it actually being used as a garden previously?
Yeah, so it's had a lot of different phases. It started
Okay.
as a community garden, which are like four principals ago. We had an incredible leader who she started this garden as a community garden. I think a lot of the issue came to where people weren't necessarily taking care of their beds, or there was just a lot of an unbalance, and not enough of the students were getting to experience the garden. So during COVID, it got completely overgrown and it completely like just washed out, didn't turn into anything. So during that time, I took over, and that was when I got a lot of plants donated from a local farm. Greens Grow, no longer, I don't think they're in Philly anymore, but got a lot of plants donated from them, and we used those plants to start this gardening and cooking club, which later turned into this class.
Yeah, which is that I wanted to make sure that you gave yourself the proper credit there because if I remember correctly, is just as you said, it was kind of the garden existed, but it was neglected, and you took over. I know you spent a ton of time. You put a lot of work into it. You still spend a ton of time. Even we were on vacation together last week, and you had to make sure it was like getting a babysitter. You had to make sure that the plants were taken care of while you were gone. It's a full-time gig. You spend a lot of time doing it outside of school as well. And in addition to that, if I remember correctly, didn't there's other things that were donated too that you spent a lot of time working on. Like you got a pizza oven donated, which,
Yeah. So the garden is extremely stressful because one, I want to see these plants stay alive, but also my entire curriculum of next year depends on these plants surviving. So going away on vacation and putting the trust in somebody else is terrifying. And let alone dealing with, rodents that live out in our garden and anything else, all the different
heat
circumstances that could
waves.
affect
Yeah.
those plants. Yeah. Our plants survived the heat waves, the fires in Canada, the
The
truck
drought.
turning and exploding right on 95. That was
I
like
forgot
a
about
quarter
that.
mile away. So I was in the garden when that happened. It survived a lot.
The
But
different types of soil that you tried to put in there, right?
yeah, a lot can go wrong, and you just need a lot of luck and positivity there. But yeah, I reached out to Uni headquarters, and they provided us a pizza oven, and With that, I was able to make a lot of pizza with the students, teach them how to make pizza. I'm very passionate about pizza. This actually started as a pizza garden. We only grew ingredients that could go in or on pizza. I love
I
to, that's one
remember.
of my favorite things to teach the kids. This most recently, we just had summer school students create their own pizza party, and I taught them. They made all the dough, all the tomato sauce, just start to finish, a couple of days of work, and then they fed about 100 people pizza.
It's the whole idea behind this is really cool, and what part of the reason why I wanted to have you on is that you turned your passion into your career. Well, you've married two passions. I would just say food, but pizza is a big one. I know you've pivoted since, like, from the thin crust pizzas that you used to make in the oven to now mostly thicker Sicilian or focaccia based pizzas.
Yeah.
But pizza nonetheless. And you've created a mini farm to table experience for the kids in your school. And as you mentioned, a lot of the kids in the school are low income, so they have access to this fresh produce and to ingredients that potentially people haven't tried before. I even myself, I know there are times where you've come home with different recipes or sent pictures through with some of the things that the kids are trying, and now they're going to have super elevated palates. It's so cool, and I know we're focusing on the garden, but the impact that you're able to have on these children's lives is really, really cool. And you created that because of what you were passionate about and the work that you've put into it. So if I step back, just teaching in general, was teaching always something that you wanted to do?
I really was pretty confident throughout high school that it was something I wanted to do. It started just with loving summers, loving the school schedule. I liked getting out at 3. I have 2 sisters that are both more than 10 years younger than me. So growing up, they would crack me up. I babysit them all the time, and really enjoyed being with them. They were hilarious. So it also happened to coincide with the movie Role Models coming out, which it just like highlighted the just how much fun it could be to hang out with kids who don't know any better and are very curious. And then in high school, I was in a class called Social Lab where I got to go to a elementary school for about 3 periods every single day. I would intern at a school. And that kind of solidified that I wanted to do this role. My favorite teacher was in 3rd grade. I had my first male teacher. His name was Mr. Packle. It was the greatest school year of my life. I really wanted to provide that same school year that I always thought of so highly to other students.
Did you always want to expand outside of 3rd grade, or was it solely based on this opportunity?
I wanted as many students as possible to get to enjoy the garden. So the high school students working in the garden, it was a lot of fun with them because we were able to do a lot more advanced cooking. With this cooking club with the high school students, it was students of all different backgrounds were bringing in recipes, family recipes, and one student would like pilot. They were the chef that day, and they directed everybody else on how to make their family's food. So we had like Spam fried rice and egg rolls and just this great variety of foods that we were cooking together. As far as just moving out of 3rd grade, there are some age groups that I wasn't like too excited to work with. But the more that I'm doing it, like I'm loving all the grades. Kindergarten
awesome.
Cracks me up. I'm cooking the same thing with kindergarten as I am with 8th grade, really, just at different like trust levels, allowing them to be more hands-on, but all the same recipes and almost the same procedures because we're really starting at ground zero.
That's really cool. I also think it's funny that you said that you went into teaching because the idea of having free summers was cool to you, and now you've created a role that you do not have a free, like a single day off during the summer. Taking care of the garden. Yeah.
But this is work that I love to do. I enjoy mornings in the garden. I actually put a coffee machine out in my shed, and I have a cup of coffee, and I water the plants every day, and I love that.
Oh man, that's so great. That's awesome that you have an espresso machine in your garden shed.
I couldn't help myself.
Okay, so it's one thing that I've always respected about you and that I know about you is that you're a hard worker. Maybe we'll get to this later, but even currently in your time off, you're so passionate about food that you're now working at a pretty big pizza place in Philly. And so you very clearly don't have a linear career. And later on, we'll get to like what you view as what's next. But can you walk us kind of through your career journey and what potentially you kind of did already, but a lot of it was there was opportunities available that you took advantage of. But I'm curious if you could kind of walk us through step by step. And then in addition to what we've already talked about, are there any highlights or milestones that you're particularly proud of throughout your career so far?
Yeah, so I started working really young. Me and my brother were like the first of a lot of our friends to get a job. And in eighth grade, we started working on a farm, and that
Okay.
we were there at 5:30 in the morning, and that kind of really sparked my interest in being outside as early as possible. We didn't last very long there because I lasted 1 year. The days were it was like 13-hour days. It was
I'm sure. I'm sure.
But I always liked working. I liked being like with a small group of people having this common goal, and then that like pride at the end of the day of having accomplished that. My second job was I worked at a Manhattan Bagel for a very long time, and I loved that. Like the more things that had to get done at once, the more exciting it was. And that's this job at this pizza place happening right now kind of brings me back to that, where I love the excitement and the energy of like so many people coming in at once, and like just a million things to focus on at one time, and trying to make everybody really happy with what you're providing. The pizza place is called Char, by the way. Quick shout out to Char if anybody listening is in the Philly area. Incredible pizza. Please come on in. And then moving into teaching, another reason why I got into teaching was I saw the demand for elementary male teachers in elementary at the elementary level. So going through college, it felt like the right thing to do to provide this rewarding experience as well as be in demand. I think it's important to try to find a role that you can be in that is in demand when you're just thinking of job security and pairing that with your interests. During COVID, I went back to school for educational leadership, thinking I may want to take that route to principalship or educational leadership. And then during that exact same time, seeing all the mandates get put into place, and a lot of the politics within schools, having to navigate so many different things, I learned that I really don't want to be in school administration right now. And it was around that same time that I was able to create this garden role. And I've told our school CEO that I will die in that garden like the Godfather. I love that garden so much. So, I mean, I feel like I found this role that now I've created a demand within the school because it's becoming this pillar of our principles, and something I'm proud of and the school's proud of. Now I'm just trying to produce as much as possible.
Yeah, you should be proud of it. And I think you've had spots on the local news. You've had the governor's wife came out to the garden, right? So it's like a staple of the community in the Northeast. I think it's really cool. So
yeah, one thing I'm excited about is the First Lady of Pennsylvania, Ms. Shapiro, invited us out to the governor's mansion this fall. So I'm working on setting up a trip with the students. But after a really successful visit of her coming to the garden and my students giving her a tour and explaining everything about our service learning class, she was really excited about it and now wants us to visit her in her garden.
That's so awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. And that's going to be an awesome experience for your students too.
Yeah.
Okay, so you and I talked a little bit before the start of this. I stopped asking this question to most of the people that I've had on here because everybody gave me the same answer. But you said you do have a typical day. So it'd be good to hear from a teacher's perspective what your typical day looks like. Kind of turn it over to you.
It's typical because it's on schedule. There is a hard start time, there's a hard stop time, and the same goes for every class in between. My day is unique because of the prep work that has changed from going from a third grade role to teaching. One thing I love is that I'm getting so many, I've had hardly any emails from parents this year on a negative basis.
That's awesome.
In the third grade room, your day, it kind of felt like it never ended because you would get home and then you would have some emails to respond to based on anything. It's like with every year that there was more of those. And now my day starts really early. I tell people all the time, I'd rather work at 4 a.m. than 4 p.m. So my day starts really early. I will typically go to the shop right up the street from my house and buy a lot of the things that I need for that day if we're cooking with different grades. And then I just have, once I have all my ingredients in, I try to set up the classroom to be as ready as possible for what's about to come, which I'll have 8th grade, 7th grade, and then about any 4 of the grade levels. So I'll see them all in one day. In the start of the year, it's going to be 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and kindergarten.
Okay.
And throughout that day, if it's nice out, we're going out to the garden. We're going to tackle some jobs that need to get done, or we're going to work on some kind of community project, just work on problem solving. A lot of the times it's just great to get outside with a purpose. And then if we're cooking inside, we are reviewing the recipe. We'll start cooking. Any downtime, I like to provide videos of chefs making a similar meal or talking about a meal. These YouTube shorts now, everything in like these reel forms.
Yeah.
Long. It keeps the kids' attention.
That's awesome.
I think they like watching the things that we're making look just as good as something a professional chef is making. And during this time, I mean, kids are trying some of the best foods that they could be trying. A lot of kids trying mushrooms this year for the first time. I took a group of students to a mushroom farm that's actually mycopolitan. It's a D and Erie Street in Philadelphia,
Okay.
so if you're familiar with that area, it's a unique location for a mushroom farm. The kids are
Very
trying
unique.
mushrooms. They're eating kimchi and bok choy. They ate beets in beet salad. We made beet nudi, the Italian dumpling. So every day is very different, but it's all structured the same.
You also have these unique experiences that you're creating not only for the kids, but you've developed relationships with some of the like smaller community, either produce stores or farms, or as this mushroom farm.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that at all?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most exciting parts of this new role is branching out. And I have developed a strong sense of no fear of rejection. Since I was a kid, I think my parents threw me into a lot of situations where I deserved to be rejected. And I don't, so when I go out, I like to try to see if people are interested in helping. And I learned that a lot of times people want to help. Riverwards Produce is a great produce store in Fishtown area. They provide us about 50 pounds of a seasonal produce each month. And
That's
it's almost
awesome.
like, I think it's the Iron Chef, the show where they have that mystery ingredient. And
Yeah.
we do the same thing in here, and then the kids research recipes that we can make, and the best recipe that they find is what we end up cooking. So that's been fun, and we built a connection with Campbell's, and that relationship has been great. I was able to take a group of students to Campbell's headquarters, and they treated them like young professionals, and it was incredible. The mushroom farm, Mycopolitan, has been a great relationship, and then just at this food bank, Feast of Justice on Tyson Avenue. They're really great people that have been accepting our donations in frozen food formatting and giving them to feed a lot of families. And then the last relationship that's been really helpful is the Flower Station on Byberry Road. They provide all of our plants every year. They're just great people over there, and a lot of times I'll go to them in need of guidance because things are not always going well in school garden, as you could imagine. And they're a great resource.
That's awesome. I'll have to try to
I
shout all
really
these
haven't
people.
had any bad luck when it comes to asking people for help. I've almost always been met with a yes, and that I'm just so grateful for. With
Yeah,
Uni
that's-
headquarters as well, people
Yeah.
want to help, and it's great.
It's really cool, and I actually think that that's really good advice too. The answer will always be no until you ask.
Yeah, yeah,
I always think about when Michael Scott wrote on the board, "You miss 100% of the shots you don't take." Wayne Gretzky, Michael Scott. Yeah, so
yeah.
it's true. The answer will always be no unless you ask, and you'll never know unless you ask. The worst thing that happens is no, and that's a perfect example and great advice. It
You
actually,
can't be worried about that.
and I think it's a great transition into the namesake question of this series. If I knew then what I know now, would I approach things differently? And so the way I've kind of framed the question is there a piece of advice that you wish you had earlier in your career, or that you would share with someone earlier in their career, potentially looking to follow in your footsteps?
So there isn't really anything I would change about my career trajectory. I'm really happy with where I'm at and the steps that I took. I kind of I like to live by the quote of Cormac McCarthy, where you never know what bad luck you sorry, never know
That's okay.
what worse luck your bad luck has saved you from. That quote is really important
I
to me.
like
If
that.
you've known me long enough to know that it's like self-induced bad luck. I get myself into situations that require a lot of navigating, and I think it's important for everybody when they feel like they're in a series of bad luck to just consider that, you never know what worse luck it's saving you from. And then, like, in that same thought, advice that I would have is or one thing I wish I did is to find a mentor. I think at an earlier age, or I've really never found a mentor. Now my brother's a financial advisor, so he's been very helpful to me. But if you don't go into the field of business and finance, then you are left on your own to navigate the world of business and finance. And there is nothing worse than learning the hard way, I think.
Yeah.
There have just been so many situations where I've had to learn the hard way. And learning the hard way is almost always just losing money, I
Yeah.
think. So whether it was like out of college or in college, I had a bunch of jobs and just picking up work wherever I can. I didn't submit a single thing in doing taxes correctly. And I got hit with back taxes. And it was like, nobody told me that this was, like, I just had no
Sure.
idea that that was something that could happen. Or getting out of college, I wanted to buy a house. And that was when I found out I accidentally tanked my credit score because I lost sight of student loans that I just wasn't really familiar with, because it's easy to get caught up in, like, what's the most important thing today, and that's kind of how I always am, like, what do I got to do today, and not really thinking of the administrative tasks, and losing sight of those things. And I think if I had maybe sought out a mentor at a young age, I think it could have been helpful to preventing myself from having to learn the hard way, because truly it is a frustrating thing.
Yeah.
I remember having that conversation with my mom one day. She was like, "Oh yeah, it's not fun to learn the hard way." And I was like, "Well, how do I not learn the hard way?
Yeah.
What do I have to do here?" So I think finding a mentor, and like I said, there's a lot of people out there that want to help. I've learned, and I think there's a lot of people that are looking for their job or their role in a business and financial field to be more rewarding. And I think that there would be a lot of people out there interested in providing mentorship to people who are in a field unrelated to business and finance.
I think that that's great advice. It's something I'm very passionate about, actually, is financial literacy. Because you're right. With that, it's very easy to, like, the example people always use is like, oh, you touch a stove, it's hot, you know not to touch the stove anymore. But if you do something in the financial world and you make a huge mistake, it's very hard to dig yourself out of. So
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. I think it's something that people need to learn much earlier. And I've always tried to be very open about things, because those types of topics can become taboo. And if you have someone that you can truly be honest with, and then you can kind of gauge off of, it's not a competition, but you get an idea of, like, oh, you save that much every month, or that's what you're targeting to save, this percentage of your income, or how much should I be looking at spending on a house or a car, or invest, those types of things, right? Like, not actually
Yeah.
giving financial advice, but understanding the basics of how should I be looking at things. And it's a huge,
I
it's a
think it's
huge
helpful
help.
also, yeah, to seek that help outside of your family sometimes, because a lot
Yeah.
of times your family will often assume that you know things because maybe you've had a conversation about, this topic when you were 13. Like,
Yeah.
they assume that you may know things when really a mentor may confirm that you have an understanding of a lot of, what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's great advice. Okay, so looking forward, what's next? Personally, professionally, anything you're excited about?
I just, like I said, I like to wake up every day and figure out what I got to get done. I know that I want to continue working in this garden and seeing this service learning curriculum grow. I've had the privilege of building this curriculum piece by piece to kind of shape how I want it to look within this school. And I'm not sure how it's going to grow. We're building partnerships constantly. So I'm just excited to continue to build partnerships and work with anybody out there that's interested in being a part of this, because it is something special. I don't have any, I had a lot of goals 5 years ago for this garden, and I have looked back at them, and I'm surprised to see that, we've surpassed a lot of those goals, and now it becoming its own course was something that wasn't even really in consideration. I didn't think it was possible. So at this point, when I'm looking at 5 years down the line, I just want to see this continue to thrive. And now I think I got to reestablish some new goals.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations. You should be very proud of what you created.
Thank you.
It's really cool. It's really cool to see it continue to grow too. I'm very happy for you. Before we finish, is there anything else you want to plug? You want the potential listeners to know about?
If you're interested in, if you hear this and you think that there is a way that your organization could support the garden or could partner with our students, or you want your organization to maybe offer volunteer hours or days of service, anything like that, please check out New Foundations Charter School. They're on Instagram, they're on Facebook, they have their website, newfoundations.org. And through there, you can learn a lot about our garden and ways that we could work together.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Allan.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
See ya.